effective trades union recognition, recruitment and retention would be, because I think that that's something we should be wholeheartedly supporting you to do your job.
That would be very welcome. That would be a very welcome step forward for us, because we'll do the business out there, but we can't have our hands tied. We need to. The companies need to know that Southwark is supporting our input into those companies.
I agree with what you're saying about the trade union. Yeah, I email my manager, who never gets back to me because I belong in the union. So I've now wrote to her and put my letter in an envelope that's addressed to her. So hopefully she'll be answering me sometime this year. Where's my back pay and where's my bank account? Because I don't think sort of like, you realise that, all right, we have got the London living wage, but previous to that I haven't had a rise in 10 years. So to get the London living wage, I thought all my Christmases would come at once.
Yeah.
But if I'd had a proper rise, through them 10 years, would I be earning more than the £9.15 I'm earning now? And we do work 365 days. We work Christmas Day, we work bank holidays, we work weekends. So all that has to be considered as well as it's not just about the wages, it's the way that we actually do work. And I can only speak from my personal experience. I've done this job for 27 years. And I do, it's like it's a career for me. And I do feel very strongly that at the end of the day, with the proper management and with better training, and you employ people that actually care for people, that it will run right. And unless you get that, it's never going to run right. Because you need to have those three things.
Joan, I know when you came to the last meeting, you were talking about your forum which was coming up. Do you want to talk a bit about, presumably the outcomes from it and some of the things that came out of it that might be relevant?
We put on a forum for home care workers on the 19th. So, this is a small project within Age UK. It's a 2-day-a-week project. So, this small voluntary sector part-time project put on this forum for home care workers, and it was a great forum. We were asking people about their opinions about all sorts of things, which I'll go into. But I just want to start off by saying, I don't think it was our role. It's not. We need to hear what home care workers have to say, because certainly I didn't know about these 20-hour blocks and what it means in terms of like being available for 40 hours. I didn't know about these things at all. So we need to be, or you need to be, find out, in terms of the ethical care charter, what does it mean for the care workers, like 6 months down the line, a year down the line? What difference has it made? And I think that has to be done by Southwark, not by a small project within an organisation. And this project's been funded by Esme Fairbairn, and it's a time-limited project. I don't think it should be down to the responsibility of a little project like my own project. That's what I want to say first of all. I want to talk about the Home Care Workers Forum. It was great that it happened. We had support from Southwark, which we're very grateful for. And by support, I mean Southwark actually paid care workers to come to it. But we asked the home care workers who came their opinions about our findings in terms of the discussions we've had with individuals who get home care. That was quite interesting. I can go into that in detail if you want. But Southwark also wanted to find out some information as well about training, about support, about supervision, what could make the job better. We've got a whole load of information now from that. We had focus groups, we had surveys, we've got a lot of information. The responses vary greatly, I have to say. Like, as an example, induction training. How long did your induction last for? It ranged from 3 hours for an induction to 2 weeks.
Can you share with us the findings?
Absolutely. How can I share that with you?
The best thing to do is probably just give it all to Julie, because then we can publish it with the next report, and then we can circulate it amongst the committee and have a look. That'd be really useful.
Before.
Go on.
Could I just say something else as well? Because I did ask about CQC. What's CQC's ideas about people getting home care? Consulting with them. I mean, I know it's just a huge resource implication, because you can go to a care home and it's one place, but getting 20 people's points of view, it's a whole load of time and effort, So I was just wondering whether there's any strategy around that, how you're actually going to gather people's opinions.
So for home care, we contact people, usually by phone, and we also send out questionnaires. And in all of our reports on home care, we state at the very beginning how many people we've talked to, and also how many people are in the service. So where we've gathered the views and we've got those views. So we do say that. I think it's a real challenge, because I sort of agree with you. It's much easier for us to observe care and see it. It's challenging, I think, to get the feedback over the phone. I think you also mentioned there about sometimes we get a sense that there's sort of reluctance maybe to give us the full picture. Maybe people are a bit worried about doing that. So it is, I agree that it's quite challenging, and I think it's something that I hope will improve as time goes on. But we do, in terms of what our guidance says about sampling specifically, it talks about a proportionate sample, so it doesn't prescribe. The way that we do that, we work as teams, an inspection team that goes out and inspects depending on risk, the type and size of the service. But we quite often use experts by experience, but the inspector themselves will normally contact some individuals as well. And we have set kind of guidance and questions that people go through to kind of, to tease out the answers.
I mean, I have looked at several reports myself,
yes.
And I've seen that you may have gone out to speak to X number of people, but it seems to me that the numbers are very, very low, and certainly in terms of the people that we have interviewed, no one's ever, no one's ever has anything other than the actual agency themselves asking. And I know in a lot of reports that the report goes by that as well, by the agency's own internal mechanisms of consultation, which is quite often, and I'm shown these things, a survey, or people sometimes say to me, well, I had a phone call, I didn't really know what it was about, so I said it was fine. So I just feel that, it's not capturing what it should, or it's not making enough effort to capture what it should.
David, did you want to comment?
I sort of wanted to, in a way, to follow on from what Gemma was saying, but and it's sort of trying to address point 4 in our review, which is about what further things should we be doing as a council to support care in our community. And there were 3 things I wanted to pick up on, if that's okay.
Yeah.
So one is from the Linkage, Southwark, Time and Talents and Blackfriars Settlement feedback, and that was about the safeguarding alerts and how it's quite often when the voluntary sector sometimes raise concerns around safeguarding on behalf of service users to social workers, to the council, etc. There's no feedback as to what happened to those safeguarding alerts, and that's something that surely we must be picking up on. There must be some sort of mechanism that allows some confidence in the system to know that if you've raised a safeguarding alert, that something's actually been done with that safeguarding alert.
Because we as a committee receive some safeguarding stuff, so I was checking with Julie if we get those.
So what we do at Scrutiny is we do get those regular briefings from the CQC, and then we have an internal policy that we will then communicate those with Health Watch and also with the lay inspectors.
Sorry, who's safeguarding alerts for these?
The CQC safeguarding alerts.
No, but I'm worried more at a sort of much more lower ground level. So when the voluntary sector are talking to service users, sometimes they're raising concerns about the level of care.
Okay.
They then report that to the social workers, to the council, and then it seems that sometimes that's the end of the story. We don't really know what then happens to it.
So we don't know whether it's being dealt with or not, and whether we should keep chasing
So
it.
this is right at the sort of ground
We don't know
level.
what happens within the council about it. Yeah, I don't know. Okay.
So
There
there's
should
that
be
issue.
some kind
There
of
should be some-
tracking and
yeah.
follow-up to that.
Yeah.
We should be notified.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, I think people who are reporting safeguarding concerns, we should be going back to them to tell them what the
Yes.
outcome of that was. The second thing is, obviously, we have now a statutory adult safeguarding board, and obviously they look into safeguarding alerts and things, but or the officers do. But again, I think that the knowledge and understanding of the fact that there is an adult safeguarding board and how to report to them, I think is not very high. And although they have done campaigns over the years to try to raise awareness, they've done poster campaigns, they've done little booklets, etc. I think there needs to be a more coordinated approach about making sure, for example, I think in all the care homes, there should, as well as the rating, there should also be something explaining, because people don't, I mean, obviously all providers should have a complaints process for service users and their friends and family and relatives, but I think sometimes people might also want to go to someone independent, arguably, and I think that's something that we should consider. And then the third and final point, and this is a question for CQC, on page 35 of the main agenda, you've given a list of how we can report concerns about different types of health providers and adult social care providers to CQC. I'm not clear, are those just for professionals, or are these something the public? I mean, are we allowed to share these with our residents and the public generally, or who are these for, these reporting concerns?
So they can which the main one for the public that we show is the inquiries, and that's then it's triage, so the bottom one within CQC to the right place.
So who are the ones above for?
So you can use
Anyone.
the one that we would probably suggest that most members of the public use would be the inquiries, the general inquiries, and it will go straight to our National Service Centre, and they'll look at the information based on what the information is and what it's about. They'll make sure that it goes to the relevant place, because it's the easiest one to remember. But we have got specific emails for the different directorates.
Jasmine, students.
Yeah, just a couple of points really, if I may. I just wanted to bring it back to the My Home Life Southwark Care Home Quality Improvement Strategy. Obviously that just feels so old, doesn't it, looking at 2013. I can barely remember what happened last week, let alone 2013.
So our officers are doing an update on it, so we'll circulate it afterwards.
Yeah, so that is being refreshed. But one of the questions I did want to talk a little bit about how you narrow the gaps between the different services and the different compartments, drawing up services. And everywhere else, people are looking at digital strategies. People are communicating with each other in real time and using technology. I haven't given up on that when it comes to the care profession. I did want to ask some people around the table, the shift to electronic care records, is that helping? Does that mean that people will be able to use social media much more freely to communicate with one another, but more importantly, to communicate with other services? That terrible example that you gave of having to wait in a minibus for people. It seems to me that you wouldn't do that in children's services or any other service, because everyone's using, digital, or allegedly. So I just wanted to pursue that a little bit. I still haven't given up on the issue that Southwark Council do actually pay for care opinion and patient opinion, which not only gets people's views, complaints or issues, but feedback, not just poor feedback, but good feedback as well. And we should, be using that really. We do need to create a culture, between care workers and everybody involved, providers, the council, to talk to one another using, handhelds, digital, anything really. So I haven't given up on that. I would like to see that as a fundamental part.
The officers on that.
Yeah, indeed. But also the question about how people are getting on with electronic care records and so on would be useful to know.
I don't know if anyone wants to come back on that. Yeah, question.
I mean, it was really interesting what you said there about that kind of thing wouldn't happen in children's services. My background is actually in children and young people's services, and I'm fairly new to older people's services.
Right, okay.
One of the things that's interesting for me is many of the things that we're talking about here remind me of the children's sector before Every Child Matters.
Yeah.
Basically that idea of things like the team around the child, that kind of stuff, all those kind of things, they really did revolutionize, whatever people say about that period, they really did revolutionise how we treated children's services.
Well, how we thought about it.
Yeah, so many of these things sound like the kind of dog's dinners that we used to have then, because there was no way of actually people coming together around individuals, and so I think that's really, we know it can work, we've seen it happen once, why don't we try and bring that into all people's services as well?
So,
Carl.
Jackie.
I just wanted to kind of follow up on Alex and Verinda, who were both talking about case studies of people who've gone into care homes and deteriorated. And if you talk to any of my service managers, they have very similar stories to tell. That our older people go into our care homes and they very, very quickly go downhill. And I've seen it in older people that I've got to know that come to my organisation. And you see them go in on respite because their family's away, and they come back to us, and they come back to us far more fragile and damaged than they went in. And if it was a child, we would be holding huge inquiries as to why we're putting up with that. But we put up with it for older people, and it's an indictment of our society that we're still putting up with it. And Alex has said it, and Verinda has said it. And we're talking about CQC reports, but actually what's happening out there is older people are really suffering every time they go into the care home.
Yeah.
Okay, I would say I'm conscious of the time and that people have plans to be early tomorrow morning. So if I bring you in very quickly, Kate, and then literally it'd be really great if we could just go around and you could all kind of say the one thing you would like us to take away from it, so we can just capture it very succinctly as well. People are all probably. So Kate, did you want to?
I just wanted to say that I think in terms of the care home, that the local authority and the CCG have worked very closely in partnership with the care homes, with Nursing in Southwark, and we have put in place, a multidisciplinary team which includes, a GP contract that supports the care homes. It includes a consultant gerontologist who's now set up MDTs in the care homes. We've got dedicated social workers. We've got older people's nurse specialists. And I think actually if we look across, across the piece, that actually Southwark is incredibly committed, both from a health and social care point of view perspective, to really support people who are in our care homes, who are the most frailest and most at risk kind of population that we have. So I think it is important that we do recognise the fantastic partnership working with the council and the CCG and the care homes and the acute services and community services have sort of come together to provide that, and I think it's actually quite a unique model.
Thank you. So I guess what I think would be really useful as we do a bit of summing up is kind of the one recommendation or the one thing that you want us to take away from this that we can then kind of feed into our reports. So I don't want to start with you, and then we can move around. If people don't have anything specific, feel free not to make something up on the spot, and then we're fine.
Yeah, I think it is building on that model actually, and looking, particularly on some of the vanguards that we've got across the country and how we sort of build on what we have in place and continue with that.
Okay, Helen?
And I think we obviously continue to be inspecting and going out there. I think equally we want to facilitate improvement, and that's very much what we talk about. But obviously, where we don't find it, we will obviously take action to improve on services where things happen.
I consider you very much care about the services that are provided, and you recognise that needs caring about the staff as well to provide those good services. The one thing I'd ask you to take away is you have to be vigilant on that one, because you can't assume that the standards you expect are actually what's happening out there in the field. We hope that we can provide a useful contribution towards doing that, and I will very much consider putting in the joint submission you referred to earlier regarding that.
might be one to Catherine.
Yeah.
I'm pretty new to this, but the things I've been getting from the focus group with home care users that Jane and I both go to is that generally people do understand the pressures that are on the care workers, and it does sometimes feel a little bit like the care workers and the clients against the management. I don't know if that's accurate or not, but that's sometimes how it feels, and I think it really reflects in the standard of care what the care workers are facing.
Miranda?
I think better scrutiny of who in the future you offer home care provision to regarding the company, because it's all well and good they have in their display of our philosophy is bells and whistles, etc., etc. But when you strip all that away and you look at how they truly are working, you'll actually see that they're not working. And to really glean how good or bad they are, I really do think that you have to talk to the care workers, because they will reveal exactly what is and what is not going on behind the company doors. I think that's very important.
Jane?
I suppose, I mean, there's lots I want to say, but the most important one, I think, is what I feel is really, really lacking, which is some sort of qualitative rather than just quantitative, that's very difficult to say, part of, like, you know, quality assurance, but qualitative quality assurance rather than just, you know, agencies providing information on certain PIs, you know. I think that one-to-one, it needs to happen.
Yeah. Jackie?
We can expect as much as we like, but until we actually put more resources into older people's services, we will continue to find ourselves back here.
Caroline?
I would like time to care. I think that's got to be the most one of the important things. So I would like more time for my clients.
Thank you. Martina?
Yeah, I mean, I think I would like just for you to start really, you know, looking at bringing the home care provision back in-house. I mean, I'm not a sort of accountant or whatever, but you know, when you look at everything and all the people that are around here that are in some way connected with looking at, you know, inspections and then you take into commissioning, it must be worth a look, and to bring that sort of back in, and the care workers feeling that of working for the local authority. I think the service users would also, there's a lot of clients who still recognise, who still talk about that.
See?
Yeah.
I would like to see all care workers being given security of employment and not on 0 hours. I think once you take away 0 hours, you take away the main bullying tactic or leverage that the employer puts and keeps and subdues its workforce. The workforce is caring for other people, they care for each other, and they care for their industry, and if they had the security of employment so that they couldn't be bullied and have work withdrawn, they would start sorting things out from the bottom up, and quite frankly that is the best place usually to sort things out.
David?
Okay, leading on from that, all providers, we have access to the same pool, essentially, of people who could be care staff, support staff. So I think it was mentioned earlier with the care homes that the most important thing is good leadership and management, and that's what really achieves good care for people on the ground.
I'm going to skip over all the committee members because we can talk about it afterwards. We're going to have to come up with a list of recommendations. Tom?
I'd like to reiterate how we're working with CQC and Cape, and it's never, and the council. We've never seen anything. Nearly 10 years. This is taking it really forward. If we continue on this, you know, there's lots of hope. Good hope.
Cindy?
I think for me it's the managing transitions when people go into care homes, and the continuity of provision that we can provide as a voluntary sector for that person.
Sure, I mean similarly, I think at the end of the day we're often very well placed to provide that both holistic and continuity of care, but also to be a direct link to the community because we are community-based organisations. But the other thing I would say is that an atomised and insecure workforce can't properly support people if they're not having their own needs met. And I think we're aware of that, and our service users are aware of that too.
Okay. Peter?
Yes, I'm an activist, but I also understand financial viability. This Res Publica report, the care collapse, the GMB sort of concerns, unless everybody in the country works together in partnership, as with the NHS, there are major problems.
Miranda?
Okay, I think you've picked up on one of my points, which is strengthening partnership working. My other point is really about carers, that unpaid carers have a voice, they need to be heard, and they require support in order to advocate their ideas, their suggestions and their complaints without it affecting the care that is provided to their loved ones.
Thank you very much. Thank you everyone very much for coming and staying with me. I think we've got some really, really useful things out of that, and hopefully we've built some relationships across the room as well, so people are more aware about what's going on in the industry as a whole. We are now going to take away everything that you've said and everything that you said at the last session and write a report over the next couple of months, which I will make sure that you all get a copy of, but it will be coming to our January meeting for us to sign up on, and then we will circulate it to everybody. And if anyone wants to send us any more information, anything they have that they think would be useful, if you send it all to Julie and then she can circulate it to all of us, that would be great. But thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.